After this, I'm going to take my captain's hat off and continue to be their peers and their friends. But, welcome to the Marshall Islands MashUp crew. Again, my name is Paul McGrew, Noe Watts. You guys know these guys, you've seen them around. Matt Friars, Rich Barkus, good to see you again, Rich, and Dylan Lawrence. You guys can sit down and get comfortable. We got a little slideshow presentation. We turn down the lights here. Actually, someone, can you help me out? So this is your agenda, the Marshall Islands MashUp. So kick back, relax. I appreciate your time to enjoy this.
The 3 square buttons, the bottom one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Just press it one time.
So this presentation I'm going to go through, there's a whole bunch of pictures and some videos. When the videos come on, I probably won't talk. When their pictures are there, I'll speak more. If you have a question at any time, I'll answer those. If you have particular questions for the crew, that's great. We can get them to answer as well. I'll talk a little bit about the Marshall Islands. You know, a lot of you guys, where are they? You've seen Marshallese here in the hospital. So hopefully you'll have a better understanding about where they came from, maybe a little bit about their culture. In the beginning, I'll talk about what we did prior to prep for this, what we did when we got on island on Kwajalein, and prep there. And there's kind of 3 different legs. One leg around Kwajalein Atoll, and then the second leg we actually went into the outer atolls, and the third one, another adventure. So just give you a guideline of how we're going through this. Let's go ahead and start. That's Cherokee, the name of the boat. Okay, that's a little intro. Important thing for us, you know, this was an adventure. It was a humanitarian effort that we went out to the outer atolls. But you know, it was fun. We had a great time. We were able to work hard. I think every day we were always constantly doing something. And as I look back, I'm like, man, I wish I'd propped my feet up a little bit more. As you look and see, oh, a sailboat, oh, they're relaxing. It was a lot of hard work. So as a captain, I couldn't have done it alone. So I'd like to start off really thanking my crew for showing up and really contributing and making it happen, because I couldn't have done it alone. But it started with Dylan, Matt, and I 2 years ago. It's a little over 2 years ago. We were like, we wanted a carrot. Maybe this is me speaking. I'm like, okay, hey guys, we graduate, we'll go do something like this. And we always talked about it, what we're gonna do, how to contribute, and it was great. Well, here we are, graduated, and go on the next slide. Okay, Marshall Islands, you see Hawaii on the upper right-hand corner. The Marshall Islands to Majuro, it's roughly 2,300 miles away, about the same distance from California to Hawaii. It is in the middle of nowhere. So if you feel like you're isolated in Hawaii, the Marshall Islands is very isolated. Go on the next slide. Right here we have all the atolls. Everybody know what an atoll is? Okay, an atoll is a ring of islands that, if you classic examples, look at the Hawaiian Islands. You got the big island where you have volcano action going on, islands growing, and as you go on up the chain towards Kauai and all the way to Midway, the islands are sinking, eroding, and eventually they all become atolls. The atolls here, there's 28 of them. There's 5 low-lying islands. There are 2 chains, the Radic chain and the Raleigh chain means sunrise, sunset. And in the middle, in the lagoon, it's about 200 feet deep, which makes it challenging to find anchorages. So it's, when we're sailing, these guys are like, hey, what the game plan is, when we leave anchor, we gotta find a place to have our next hook. There's not that many spots for a safe anchor. So it's always something as a captain I need to be thinking about. But the atolls that are underlined are the atolls that we went to. Kwajalein, right there smack in the middle. It's the world's largest atoll. There's 100 islands in that atoll. Throughout the Marshalls, there's probably about a bit over 1,000 islands. Give you an idea, the distance between Kwajalein and the tip to tip to Namu Atoll is about 30 miles. So even though it doesn't seem that far, it's not like you're looking out and seeing Molokai in the distance. The islands from ocean level is about 8 miles at max. So it's very hidden. Go ahead to the next one. So there's Kwajalein. Why Kwajalein? Why the Marshall Islands? Well, when I was 5, I went out there with my family. I had a rubber band to my back, and I just kept going back and forth. And I still seem to have it in my blood to keep going back there. Kwajalein's about 3 miles long. You can see Ebi in the distance, where a lot of our patients are from. Very populated island, probably one of the most densely populated places on this planet. I've heard anywhere from 11,000 to 15,000 people living on this island. And then BG up in the distance, there's a little pass, a couple families live there. People come to Ebi for employment. They have an opportunity to work on the military base. And unfortunately, it increases the population. There's 2 main islands in the Marshall Islands. You got Majuro as the capital and Ebi. And total population in the Marshall Islands is probably 65,000. Now, we have a huge migration to America, as you know. There's probably 65,000 in America already, and having an impact on our communities. Here we have a track of, it's called an inReach. When we were out sailing, we were able to always send out a message where our track is, so for safety purposes. It's pretty amazing. The device is only about $400, and it cost me less than $150 to have it operated for 2 months. Just last month, there was a boat that went down the Gilbert Islands, which is just right down here. The boat went down, it was overcrowded, had 100 people on board. They didn't have any safety devices, and the ship went down. It didn't get out to about 6 days later. They were able to rescue 7 people, and most of them were school children. Pretty devastating. So being on the boat with Cherokee, you're isolated, you have to be able to take care of yourself. You know, anything happens, you gotta fix it. You know, nursing diagnosis, assess what's wrong, try to figure it out, get a plan, take action, and then reassess. It's funny how nursing goes right into operating a boat. So it's a good peace of mind for our family and friends to see where we're at. Okay, Cherokee, real quick. I've had her for 20 years with 2 buddies. She's a beautiful boat. She's a ketch. She's a trimaran. She's 47 feet long, 27 feet wide, 5 double bunks. It's crazy to think I've had her for 20 years. It was a 5-year plan with my buddies, and somehow we still have her. The best thing about the boat is sharing it, so it was great to be able to share it with this crew. And with all that space, allows me to have a ton of supplies. So we went and, you know, collected donations and just stocked our boat up. There you see my owner, the owner's there. On the right, 20 years ago, TC, John, and I, the other 2 guys still live out there and maintain the boat. So fortunately, occasionally I get to go out there and enjoy it. That's in the harbor on Kwajalein. So Marshall Islands MashUp, you know, where did we just do it? Where did it start? It really started when we went around the atolls 18 years ago. I'll tell you a story real quick about a boy that I met. He was 12. I ran into him again when he was 24 when I was working at Job Corps as a teacher. And I always ask my Marshallese students, hey, where are you from? What island? Blah, blah, blah. You know, most of them say, oh, Majuro, oh, Eby. And one boy says, Likiap. I'm like, oh, Likiap. And he goes on, talks about Likiap. Oh, I was out there for 5 years, my family's there, blah, blah, blah. Which is great to hear, because most of these kids grow up on these cram-packed islands. If they can grow up on the outer islands, I really think they have a better upbringing. But I said to him, oh, I was out there and before I could finish my sentence, Lance Capelli says, Paul, TC, John, and he just, this 12 years had gone by, and he listed every single thing that we did with him. He listed playing soccer, to building goals, to getting a generator on island, to VCR and showing it on film. I mean, he just went and shared that experience. I mean, really touching. And then it made me realize, wow, my little input of giving really was substantial in his mind. So that's kind of how we did it. It was a great way to introduce yourself into the community. I was interviewed last week and someone said, well, how do you build trust with a patient? And you know, how do you build trust with the patient? You walk in, you don't know the patient that morning, and how do you do it? Well, the same thing kind of applies with walking onto an outer island. Hardly anybody speaks English. You know, and I know just a little bit of English. Yakwe, Manamog, Manaman, Manakwe, you know, just a little bit, Barliog. And where does it go from there? Well, if you play with the kids, whether it's sports, just giving them attention, it's amazing how you can win their love, win their trust, and really break into the community. So ever since then, you build the trust through the kids. You win their hearts, and then you win their parents' hearts. And every time I go onto an outer island, it seems it's always the case. And then for us, it's an amazing experience. Dylan, I couldn't get him out at sunset, at the beach, playing with the kids. Okay, well that's how it grew. As over time we kept on finding out what they want. You know, they needed fishing supplies. They needed, you know, just little stuff, and we just kept on growing and growing and growing. About late, like 08, 07, I ran into Jackie Spence. She works for Canvasback. I don't know if you know Canvasback. They're nonprofit organization that go through Micronesia. They've been doing it since 1981. It's a couple who went sailing around the Pacific for 7 years, and they ended up creating a mission with their boat. They built a 65-foot aluminum boat. Anyways, up until about 10 years ago, they were doing it by boat. Now they're still doing it by just into the main cities, but they don't get to the outer islands. But it encouraged me to become a nurse. You know, how else can I give back? You know, I lived over half my life out there, you know, and it's what helps inspire me to be a nurse. Okay, so Marshall Islands MashUp. This summer we end up through Facebook putting it out there. We were able to raise $4,000 in cash. It doesn't sound like a lot, but when you start buying, you know, little things, first aid supplies, mosquito nets, school supplies, sporting equipment, actually it was quite a bit. We also had donations from a local dive shop. They donated 60 masks and snorkels, which retailed probably about $3,000. The school donated supplies, gammies, a bargain bazaar, and the main company out of Kwajalein. So we procured stuff. We can go through some more slides. Packed it and shipped it. Here we are. It takes about 3-4 weeks. It's U.S. Postal Service, and continue on. One of the things that Marshall Islands is known for is diving. I'm like, hey guys, we gotta dive. We're gonna be working our butts off. We gotta take advantage of it. Noe's an instructor. She taught 3 of us, and we were all certified and ready to go. So there's a picture of an atoll. You can see the islands on the reef here. This is Majuro, the capital, and you can see all the ships inside. Those are all big fishing boats. Dylan arriving on an island. There's no cars on Kwajalein for personal use, so you gotta have a bike and a trailer. There's the crew. Put in work. I went out there a month beforehand and worked on the boat, and these guys came out and I put them to work. As a captain, you got to be able to keep that carrot going as well. So we'd work hard, and then we'd also go play a little bit. But some of the boxes that came in, you see John on the left with his son and his adopted Marshallese daughter. Cardboard is not something you want on a boat, so we try to get rid of as much as possible. I mean, balls, I think we bought like 30 soccer balls, 30 basketballs, 30 volleyballs, volleyball nets, basketball rims, school supplies, paper, pencil sharpeners. The sun is brutal out on Kwajalein. If you think you're gonna get a tan on Hawaii, when I was growing up, I'd lose my tan on Hawaii. You can see the awning. You know, anytime during the day you want to be out of the sun. What's that? Oh yeah, it's nonstop getting that shade up. Here's our favorite shark. They're feasting in the harbor there, nurse sharks. Kwajalein has amazing sunsets. Okay, here's Ebi. There's not many trees on Ebi. It's so packed on Ebi that they sleep in shifts, literally. If you have a job, you're sleeping at night. If you don't, you know, you're sleeping during the day. You're taking care of your family. One guy may be, you know, his small income of maybe $5 an hour may be supporting several families. Here are the ferries that go to and from the islands, about 3.5 miles between the 2 islands. Ferries run throughout the day. Here we are on Ebi. There's another video. Joy, so Their voices are amazing. They're one of the few cultures that can sing a five-part harmony. It was interesting on the altar of that church we all went to. They had Joy soap, and I'm not sure what the symbolism is, and Spam, like 3 cans of Spam piled up and soap. Interesting. I wish I knew the symbolism. So Kwajalein was a World War II battle site. Right there is the Prince Eugen. It's a German battleship sunken upside down. It was a war prize at the end of the war. It was towed over to Bikini and tested on with nuclear weapons. For some reason, they brought it back over to Kwajalein, and during a storm, it broke anchor and sank. It became an amazing dive site. Dogtooth tuna. Here's some American planes that were scrapped. It's nice they scrapped them in the lagoon at 100 feet. Diving on the ship. That's actually, I think someone's ashes was put there, a German guy, a little memorial site. Gray reef sharks. We were swimming, we probably had about 15, 20 sharks swimming around us. They're corralling a school of fish right there, you can see in the distance. 4 to 6 footers. There's a Prince Eugen at sunset. Local boat going by. Here's Kwajalein Atoll. So our path, when we did go around the atoll, here, this was mainly a training sail. You know, here I got a green crew, and before we actually went out to the open blue, we did a little training sail. I had to take him to my favorite spot, which is right up here in the middle of the, it's called Nell Atoll. So you'll see some beautiful pictures. The stars of where we were anchored at. There's a movie here.
On the shore, singing songs for Vince with Taylor.
Anybody know sign language?
$10 at the door. You can really learn a lot that way. It will change you in the middle of the day. Though your confidence may be shattered, it doesn't matter. All the great
the Marshall Islands, to get to an outer atoll, it's like a day to the next one, so usually it's an overnight sail. Those atolls do not get a vessel visiting with, as a cargo ship about 3 months, so about 4 times a year a ship comes in. It's the galley here. Water. There's Nell, my favorite spot. Little downtime. So when these guys were ready, felt confident in them, then I think we dropped Rich off, and we actually headed out to our first real destination. There's an actual chart, spots we stopped. All these spots I had been to, so I knew there's a safe anchorage. The boat only travels about 5 knots, so it's pretty slow. Although, I think we got up to what, 8.5? Okay, so sailing from Kwajalein to Isling Lap Lap, it was a little over 24 hours to get there. We sailed by Namu. Originally I didn't know which atolls we were going to. It was definitely weather-based. I had to get permission from the government to go out there to visit them. So I had about 6 atoll permissions slips. But Namu, they actually had been here. I'd been there several times, great communities, but they're in discussion on how they wanted to let boats in. So unfortunately for them, they didn't get our attention. So we sailed by Namu and sailed on to Isling Lap Lap. You see the chart up on the right. There we go, a little seasickness. There's our first morning. I think Matt had the night shift. Noe was all smiles when I came up. What does a nurse do on their shift? They document, same on a boat. We put in the logbook, keep a recording on what's happening, what's up with the engine, how much fuel, what do we have sails up, what's the weather giving, what the sea state, and I get them to plot on the chart. So it was a nice steep learning curve for the crew, but they did a fantastic job. I remember one time I put Matt, I'm like, Matt, I don't know if we had a fish on right at sunset, and we were close to the atoll, and they had an atoll downwind of us, and it was nice to feel confidence. And Matt, hey, plot this course. I need to know how far we are from the atoll. And he did that several times as we pulled 2 big fish in. Little chest plane downtime. Here's Isling Lap Lap. It's the Royal Island. One of the most beautiful islands here in the southern part. This is where the Rouge live, a king and a queen on the right. A couple spots that we anchored. I've been going to Bouge it's probably my 8th time there. So it's nice to see familiar faces. Matt had prune hands the whole trip. It's like he was in a bathtub. Coming ashore. We worked with the community. We didn't know really where we were going to be doing our clinical stuff. The first island here, we actually did it at the school. I knew the principal. She spoke excellent English. I'd known her for several years, so we actually set up shop right outside. The kids welcoming us. And I was surprised to see a new basketball court with solar panel lights. It hadn't been used yet. I think they're waiting for a big celebration. So, as new nurses, how are we going to contribute? We don't know that much. We're all in a new learning curve. But our main focus was diabetes. As you see in this chart, International Diabetes Federation rates Marshall Islands as number 2 on the highest with diabetes rates, prevalence, at 35%. That's 1 in 3, that's pretty high. when we went, right beforehand, we went to the hospital in Kwajalein and got to go through a diabetes clinic with one of my friends. And she actually was saying 56% were pre-diabetic or diabetic. That's Ophelia on the left. She's the principal. She had a lot of enthusiasm. So they'd go through our little nursing station. We'd check their sugars, vital signs, and it's hard to get them to go. And just like any volunteer shop we do, Kidney Foundation does biannually here. I think they were getting 100 people. So when we had like 25, I'm like, hey, those are good numbers. It's pretty good. So every time we set up, that's about what we were getting. At the end, we'd hand them a Marshallese little packet. It was a Marshallese. I was able to get it from Canvasback, who I was talking about earlier. I tried for the life of me to get this in English, but I was really happy to have it in Marshallese for them. We also gave them a choice between a mosquito net, a big bottle of lotion, or a mask and snorkel if they participated, which was fantastic. It's promoting better eating, going out there and catching their own fish from the ocean. Mosquito nets, they have mosquitoes out there. If you look at kids' legs, they get bit, they're scratching, and before you know it, they got infections going on. Here we have an individual with a boil we got to work with. I love his smile here. Satisfaction right there. Kids thanking us. The Marshallese people are truly one of the most gracious, friendliest people I know. And it's one of the reasons why I keep coming back. Just to give you an example, if they say I like, it means they like it, but it also means, can I have it? So there's no sense of ownership they share. And one example, and this kind of really sets it off, you guys, we love ice cream, right? You get your ice cream. I mean, maybe you share a lick. Okay, so I'm walking with, this guy's helping me with the boat, and here comes a guy with an ice cream cone in one hand, just freshly dipped and served, and I don't even think he's put his tongue through it. And we're just walking, and all my friend does, he just does the eyebrow thing, just nonchalantly, didn't say a word. The guy sticks his ice cream cone out, hands it to him, and he keeps writing. No words exchanged. I mean, they're that gracious. Heading back. We're having a little celebration, we're excited. And some coconuts. They share what they have. We were always getting coconuts. Here at Morrison I've known for about 8 years, and it was really neat seeing him this time and having a different approach to the island. Because Morrison works in the clinic with 2 years of training, and he gives out meds, he gives IVs, he does quite a bit. And it was nice to be approaching him on a different level, more medical level. So this day we were able to actually work in the clinic. Some pictures of us, vital signs.